and welcome to RTF Sports Talk. I am Mako Bakasha, the host of today's show here. If you guys are new here, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Be sure to give us a like, a comment, and a subscribe. Hopefully, hit that bell icon because we are live every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 1:45 p.m. on the East Coast time. If you're listening to us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc., anywhere you're getting your podcast forms, consider subscribing to that as well, and also leave us a ranking so we can move up in the boards a little bit here. So there was a crazy weekend of sports that has happened. But first, let me welcome my man Marcus the Freak. Marcus, how you doing today, man? It's a beautiful, beautiful, chilly Monday here. We thought spring was here. I had to go out and mow grass and weed whack and stuff, and then it decides to snow on us. So I'm like, what is going on with this world? It was that bomb cyclone or whatever that keeps coming down and killing everybody or killing things or whatever. But let's move on to the sports world, Marcus. There was a very, very exciting weekend of sports. One of the most exciting weekends that I could remember in recent memory, off of the top of my head. But the first thing that the leading story that has everybody talking and chatting today is Tiger Woods. He won the Masters Sunday afternoon, his 15th major championship, fifth Masters. First major championship in over a decade. I grew up on Tiger Woods, of him just dominating and killing everybody. I'm not a golf connoisseur by any means, but when you hear Tiger Woods at the top of that leaderboard, you can't help but to get excited. It is kind of like a blast from the past, and he is just he's such a polarizing figure, and he just I don't know, he just draws your attention. Every time I hear his name, I think of that Chris Rock show that he did, like that little ski. He's like, Tiger Woods, y'all, and he comes sliding in his golf cleats across that marble thing. What are your memories of Tiger Woods? Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. He did. He has won some events, but he hasn't. But he hasn't won any majors since. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of dominating, my Kansas City Royals, we were on a 10-game skid, 10-game losing streak, and in the baseball world, that's about a week and a half. But we are on a 3-game win streak. We won Friday, Saturday, Sunday versus the Cleveland Indians that were in first place. The Royals are 2-0 on Friday at home when they wear the gold jerseys. We play gold on Friday 10 more times this year, 16 more times this year. So I'm looking to be 16-0 on Friday. We play the Cleveland Indians 26 more times. I'm looking to be 30-0 versus the Cleveland Indians. Man, I'm excited for a 45-win season, man. I cannot get much more excited about this. We do take on the Chicago White Sox tonight in Chicago. Historically, not very good in in Chicago, either as the Cubs or the White Sox. It's something about that Chicagoland area. We're just not very good. Your Houston Astros swept the Seattle Mariners. Huge win for you guys. The Mariners were on a tear. As we said on Friday's show, they hit 15 home runs in 15 straight games. And they play. You said they played the Yankees tonight, right? Uh, right. Yep. There we go. I ain't mad about it. And the Astros are off tonight, but they do travel to the A's. I still believe they're called the Oakland A's over there. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but they do travel there on Tuesday to take on two starting a weekday series over there. There we go. Yeah, and it usually trumps most of the NBA that we're getting ready to really dive deep into. 8 games happen. So before we scoot over to the basketball side of things, one more thing here. Today in Major League Baseball is Jackie Robinson Day. Every player will be wearing the number 42 as they do each and every year. I think the NBA, they get this right every year. They definitely promote this guy. They recognize this guy every year in a great way. Everybody wearing 42. The number is retired. It's kind of a magical thing. I remember watching that Jackie Robinson documentary and the TV show and the movie, and everything is portrayed really, really well. And I'm glad Major League Baseball they do this. It was a big step in history for each and every one of us, because we may not be able here to do this today if he didn't do what he had to do to play baseball. So yes. No, he wasn't. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, because he was in the league for what, 28, 29 years. Like, he was in the league forever, and they didn't retire his jersey till like 2006 or 2007, I think, or something like that. So like, he was already established, and they're like, yeah, what, you do what you got to do. Like, he's the last person to ever wear 42 in a regular game situation. Uh, So, guys, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we are going to talk about the upsets that happened over the weekend. We're going to talk about must see TV and NBA playoffs full force, and we're going to dive deep into it on the other side of the break. We'll be right back. Get a little break there. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to RTF Sports Talk. Like I said, I am Michael Buckheister, and I am at mbuck41 on the Twitter machine, joined as always with Marcus the Freak, and he is at Marcus the Freak on Twitter. We are both starting to get more active on there, and it's just fun to see things, to at people, that kind of thing. And if you see anything sports cool, add us, and we'll check it out, give it a like, maybe get a little bit of a retweet happening thing here. But Marcus, the NBA playoffs started on Saturday. We had a quadruple hitter on Saturday and Sunday. But we're going to start with, I think, what the most intriguing game was of the weekend, and quote unquote the best upset. You and me both had the Raptors sweeping the Orlando Magic. We know now that is not going to happen. Orlando Magic went up north. They went north of the wall. They attacked the White Walkers on your Game of Thrones little quote there earlier, and they beat the Raptors 104 to 101. Kawhi Leonard did miss a game-tying opportunity. I'm sorry, it was 104 to 101. Kawhi did miss a shot to win the game for them last second there. And Orlando Magic played a great game. They came out on top. Give me your thoughts on it, and just some insights. Yeah.
Don't fake, put the ball on the ground and get a 20-foot jumper. You don't have to take he took that shot like if there was 0.7 on the shot clock.
Yeah.
Which, I hate when NBA players do that. You have 3 seconds. You have time to get off a couple of dribbles and get closer to the basket. More like your game, Kawhi. So I didn't understand that at all. And what the hell is Toronto doing? I mean, they realize that they have this great fan base. They sell out the arena, and did you see they kept on showing the crowd outside? I mean, it was they're just going crazy. I mean, you guys just laid an egg big time and just like didn't come to play. And Orlando just took it right to you. I mean, DJ Augustin, hey, he's still scoring and assisting right now. I mean, that guy's a little dynamo. I've always loved DJ Augustin out of the University of Texas. He's got a great handle of the basketball. He's got a great shot. I mean, he looked like Kyle Lowry is supposed to look. I mean, DJ Augustin's got to be thinking Kyle Lowry has stole my All-Star votes. I mean, Kyle Lowry, what are you doing? 0 of 9 from the whole floor.
Yeah,
0 of 7
that
from
was
the
very
field.
impressive.
Yeah,
Or very
Kyle Lowry,
non-impressive,
0
I
of
should say.
7. Yeah, 0 of 7 from the field and 0 of 2 from the free throw line. I mean, are you going to show up, sir? That's all we've been talking about for a whole year. Kyle Lowry, don't have any of your 2 for 17 games. You're 5 for 23 games. You did worse than that. You went 0 for 9 on all your combined shots. What are you doing? Kyle Lowry's going to have to wake up. They can't just rely on Kawhi Leonard. Siakam was okay. Danny Green, he is who he is. I think they miss OG and Anunoby, who had that appendectomy or surgery appendectomy or something. But it shouldn't be – they shouldn't miss OG in this first round. They've got to be able to beat Orlando. I think they still come back and smash Orlando, and I think it's going to be the Raptors in 5. But this was a very good wake-up call to Toronto, the city of – not really the city of Toronto. The city of Toronto, if the Toronto players were as hyped up as their fans were, they'd show up. But Toronto better wake up real quickly. I mean, Coach Nurse there better get that thing together, because Orlando's, they are what we talked about on Friday. They're too young to even know what the hell's going on. They're just balling like it's a regular season game, right. And next thing you know, they're winning 104 to 101. Orlando's going to show up with the same intensity, I believe. Although they're a young team, they might relax. But Toronto better wake up here. That was the most disappointing thing I saw over the weekend. Toronto not coming to play.
Yeah, and just to add to your point there, if we would have done a little bit more research on this game, I saw a stat where Toronto is 0-8 in their first game when Kyle Lowry plays. So take that as you may, but they are 0-8 in the game 1 situation that Kyle Lowry plays. When he doesn't play, they are 3-0. So
that's a crazy stat, because it's like he did those with DeRozan. I guess it didn't matter. You took out DeRozan, put in Kawhi. It was still the same Kyle Lowry.
Right. So me like take that as you may. Is it nerves? Is it him just easing into the series? I don't know. Or he is just like James Harden. He is not a playoff type of player. I believe me or you did not have him as a player to watch, but I think he is the key to the series now. If you really sit back and think about it, because Kawhi had 25, DJ Augustine had 25, so they both canceled themselves out, like like you were alluding to on Friday. Who is not going to cancel each other out? And I think Kyle Lowry is the key. He is the one that has to step up and has to do things for the Raptors to make it to the NBA Finals. I think he is going to be the ultimate key. So I'm kind of intrigued to see what happens on Game 2. Is the fan base going to be as hype? Are the players going to be hype? I mean, very, very intriguing matchup all of a sudden. But I think
the players better be hype. I know that much.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seemed like they came out there expecting to just walk over them, just for Orlando just to roll over and not really fight at all. I mean,
that's shocking.
Yeah. So just to wrap it up, guys, Orlando did win 101, 104 to 101. DJ Augustine and Kawhi both had game high points of 25. So moving on to the next kind of intriguing matchup that happened, upset in my eyes. Marcus, kind of not so much in like your eyes here, but Brooklyn Nets versus Philadelphia 76ers. Brooklyn does take a 1-0 lead with a 111 to 102 win. D'Angelo Russell with 26 points. Jimmy Butler with 36 points. Fun fact, D'Angelo now has more wins than the Lakers since 2015. Marcus,
yeah, that's funny, right? Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, listen, this was pretty. It wasn't really an upset in my eyes. I thought the Nets could take them to 7, and that's if Embiid was not healthy or didn't play. Embiid looked. He led them with 24 points or something, 15 rebounds. But man, Embiid looked so slow out there, moving around.
Yeah.
I mean, he just looks bad. Like, I don't understand what's going on with him, and he still was able to get his points. If that's a healthy Embiid, the Sixers don't lose that game yesterday. But it's not a healthy Embiid. He only played like 24 minutes. You look at the Nets, they come at you, man. Hey, in the triple threat position, when you got LeVert and Russell and Dinwiddie, those three right there, you give it to them, and you don't know what's going to happen. They're going to take it to the basket on you. They're really good at driving. They can shoot over the top of you. Philadelphia better wake the F up very quickly, just like Toronto,
right?
Because they could find themselves out of this series as well. Really disappointed in Tobias Harris. The guy plays like 40-plus minutes and doesn't do anything. I don't know how many times he shot the ball, but, he was nothing. He was a big old nothing. He did about as much as you and I did. And that's really, really disappointing. You get exposed in the playoffs, Michael, when you can't shoot, and Ben Simmons can't shoot.
Right.
You can concentrate on J.J. Redick. J.J. Redick, 6'4", has a hard time creating his own shot when you put an athlete on him. When a really good athlete is on J.J. Redick, he has a hard time. Now, he can open up the floor with spacing and shoot it, but they were on J.J. Redick. Those guys are more athletic than J.J. Redick, and they weren't letting him breathe, so to speak. But Simmons at 6'9", you can lay off of him. And you, like I said, you get exposed when you can't shoot in the playoffs, and you can lay off Simmons and go ahead and shoot, Ben.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then so it just messes everything up. I mean, and Butler was okay. He came to play. But I'm going to tell you right now, Tobias Harris and J.J. Redick got to look at themselves in the mirror and wake up, because they're playing against a really good athletic team. And then the guy I talked about, Joe Harris from the Nets, he didn't really get off.
Yeah.
And so wait till he goes off. And so I think the Sixers are in big-time trouble here. I picked the 76ers in 7. If they play any kind of game like they did the other day, which I don't anticipate them doing, if Tobias Harris wakes up, I think the Sixers, will advance. But and because I think Butler's one of those guys you don't have to push him any buttons. He knows he knows what time it is. He knows what he's doing. But they better wake up, or the Nets are going to win this thing, in 5 or something. I hate to, get all dramatic or overanalyze, the first game, but because that Sixers could come back and smash them. But I don't think so. I think the Nets are for real, and I love what Allen and Ed Davis, Ed Davis did in the post. They're not as big as Embiid, but they're in that 6'10", 6'9" range, and they held their own against Embiid. Embiid likes to take a lot of threes, so they don't have to bang as much with Embiid, but they did a nice job in the post. The Nets are the real deal, and they're going to get, like I mentioned the other day, they're going to give the 76ers a run. I picked the 76ers in 7, but they're another team. Just like Toronto, if the Philadelphia 76ers don't wake up, they're going to find the Brooklyn Nets beating them, and that's pretty crazy to me.
Yeah, and I have to kind of piggyback on everything that you said there. I was really low on the Nets earlier in the show. I had Philly winning in 5. I really didn't think Brooklyn had a chance in any other series. I thought they were the cutoff line for the East being bad, that 6, 7, 8 seed, and we saw the 6 and 7 seeds are kind of the real deal. I feel like as a basketball community as a whole, we maybe underestimated, or I underestimated them all year. I thought they were just a product of an easy schedule or an easier schedule, and it's happened to get right versus those not so good teams. But after watching this game, if I could go back and re-pick my games, I would pick the Nets in 6 games. I think they are going to give Philadelphia everything they want and more. Yes, I agree with you 100% there. We cannot overanalyze the first game, but the first game always sets the tone of the series.
It does.
Is this series going to be I'm going to throw it down post and I'm going to pound game? Is it going to be an aggressive game? Is it going to be, hey, we're just going to lay back and shoot 3 games? The Nets brought it to Philly, and Philly did not know what to do with it. Just like what you said on Friday, Philly has all these players, all these shooters. There's only one ball. Jimmy Butler scored 36 points. The rest of the team kind of lagged behind. They got their 15. I think there was one player that even had 20 points. But other than that, they didn't do a whole lot.
Jimmy Butler showed up. Tobias Harris was a non-factor, and J.J. Redick got that tough D put on him by some really good athletes.
Yep.
And Ben Simmons was dared to shoot, and he's not shooting. So Philly's in trouble if Embiid can't go and give them like a 35-point, 15-rebound game. They're in trouble. They're in real trouble. And the Brooklyn Nets are like a street ball team in terms of you could take LeVert, Russell, and I know there's Harris, Dinwiddie. You could take those 4 guys. You could take them to any street in America, and they'll get up and down the court in the triple threat position, can shoot over the top of you, drive around you, pass it really well. It's almost like it's weird. It's almost like the Nets toyed with them. It's like, hey, LeVert, your turn?
Yep.
Okay, my turn. It's Russell, it's my turn. Okay, Dinwiddie was like, hey, guys, I want to score too. It's my turn.
Right.
It's almost like they played with the 76ers. Brett Brown better wake up and make some adjustments, or his ass will be fired if they lose this. They lose this first round.
And that is kind of what I liked about that game was like the Nets were not a selfish team. Anybody on that team would get hot, and the teammates would get excited about it. Like, hey man, good shot. And the Philly when Jimmy started scoring his, like it kind of seemed like the rest of the team was kind of like, man, who is this guy? He is just a 1 year, like, because I think Jimmy, like, he'll be gone at the end of the season anyways. So they're kind of like, hey, like, this guy, he didn't trust the process. He wasn't here from the start, and so they were kind of like upset about him doing so well. I think. And I want to see this storyline grow and see if something happens, like if Philly just falls on itself.
Philly's going to be the talk of the offseason, especially if they lose in this first round.
Yeah.
If they lose in the second, I think they're going to lose in the second round. So, but if they lose in this first round, the talk will already begin. Butler's going to go chase a ring, and I don't mean he's going to take $3 million and add to a bunch of great players. He's going to go become a third wheel or a second wheel to what he thinks could be a championship team. Butler's ready to ascend and play with players that care, play with a whole organization that's all about winning. And so Butler's gone, and Tobias Harris is going to go to the highest bidder. So now you're going to be looking at Philly left, and J.J. Redick's on a one-year deal. So now you're going to be looking at Philly left with Ben Simmons, who can't shoot, and an Embiid who's always hurt. So this is a big offseason for Philly, but more important, Michael, this is a big series for Philly.
Right. Those are great insights. And I feel like J.J. Redick is kind of on his last leg. I mean, he's got to be, 35 years old, isn't he? 36 years old.
Well, I don't know if he's that old, but, I mean, he's not – He could, at 30 years old, he could be on his last leg. J.J. Redick's never going to be an outstanding player, but J.J. Redick could be a, he needs to play. He probably needs to sign with the Lakers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So LeBron has that guy he can throw it out to and hit threes, like a poor man's Bradley Beal. If I was J.J. Redick, I'd go sign on with LeBron and those guys because that's what LeBron needs open shooters around him, great shooters around him, and Redick could qualify as that.
Right. Those are great insights by Marcus the Freak there, guys. We're going to take a quick break. We'll get on the second half on the Saturday shows here. We have Clippers versus Warriors and Spurs versus Nuggets, when we'll be right back.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, you were moving your camera, and then I couldn't see you, and then or I could see just your chest, and then I could see half your face. It was weird the whole time. Okay.
All right, guys, welcome back to RTF Sports Talk. As promised, we're on the bottom side of the Saturday teams here, and we're just going to jump right into it. Clippers versus Golden State. Golden State did ultimately win the game to take a 1-0 series, 121-104. Steph Curry led the way with 38 points. Harrell for the Clippers had 26 points. What are your thoughts on this game, Marcus?
Yeah, I love the fact that Montrezl Harrell came to play against the Clippers. I just not thought of him when you said his name. Golden State struggles with a guy that's a beast in the middle, that just gets putbacks and rebounds and won't take any crap off anybody.
Right.
And Montrezl Harrell could average 26, 30 points and 15 rebounds in this series because Golden State doesn't have, as crazy as it sounds and as talented as they are, they don't have tough players in terms of that's going to get in Montrezl Harrell's way. And that guy could be a beast in the middle and get a bunch of points, but Montrezl Harrell needs help, and he needs shooters around him, and he needs playmakers. And man, that game was a little more intriguing than I thought. They were arguing back and forth, Beverly and Durant. It was fun to watch. I thought the Clippers got hosed on a couple of calls. It's almost like the refs were going for the Warriors. Yeah. But the Warriors are just too damn talented. I mean, it's really what it comes down to. I mean, Curry's taking shots that you should never take if you were teaching a kid how to play basketball, we all love watching Stephen Curry, right?
Right.
He pulled up a couple of times from 30 feet with 19 seconds on the shot clock. If I was coaching basketball in high school and college, are you kidding me? Let me just get you on a little secret. If Ty Jerome pulled up from 30 feet that's a 30-second shot clock, right? So let's just say 25 seconds left on the shot clock in a first round or second round game, Dick Bennett would pull Ty Jerome, and Ty Jerome be sitting next to you and I.
Right.
But that's Stephen Curry we're talking about. So I guess no shot is a bad shot. But look, they're just too talented. The Clippers are probably going to get swept here. I hope they can pull off one game. One of my key players to watch, Landry Shamet, he hurt himself really bad in the second quarter and was never the same. But I tell you what's funny about the Warriors is they're a bunch of babies, man.
Yes.
Durant's getting, he's getting thrown out of a first round game. Can you imagine? I mean, they're playing against they're always going to be the best team. So they're playing against an inferior team, and a 6'1" Beverly is getting into Kevin Durant's head. Michael, let me tell you the equivalent of that. How tall are you?
I'm 6'4".
Okay, check this out. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, Beverly's 9 inches shorter. So that would be like my brother, who's 5'7", getting you all upset because
right.
he's guarding you really well.
Chest bumping me.
A little bit. You'd be like, dude, I'm gonna destroy you, and you wouldn't get mad. You just play your game. That's
right.
crazy. Durant's like a big old baby, man. Hey, just play the game, And so he gets thrown out of these games, and I hope it comes back and bites him. I hope he gets thrown out a bunch of times and then has to sit out a playoff game. That would be fun. That'd be funny if it was right in the finals where where he sits out the game 4 or something, real key game. But yeah, I mean, the Clippers did a valiant job. They did their best under the circumstances, in Oracle against a team that was shooting pretty well, and they're just undermanned. But I like the way the Clippers fight in spirit. That's led by their head coach. And so the game was actually more competitive even than what I thought it would be. Like in the middle of the third quarter, they were still going back and forth. But the Warriors are just too tough. It'll be a sweep. But I'm still intrigued. Now there's a little drama, though, because you have Beverly and Lou Williams arguing with the refs and all that. I mean, saying, hey, you're letting Golden State get away with this and that, and they are. Yep. So we'll see what happens in game 2. That'll be fun to watch tonight. But Golden State should win this thing going away.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you there. I do think it is going to end up in a sweep, but although I don't think the score is equivalent to how close the game actually was.
Yeah,
like it was a very, very chippy game, as you alluded to, and KD didn't only get tossed in a first round game. It was game 1 versus the 8th seed. So that right there just shows me how weak-minded you actually are. You are getting, just like you said, a 6'1" guy is pushing you around, getting in your head, causing you to get ejected from a game 1, and you guys are up by 20 points.
Right.
What happens if they face a Toronto team that they all 5 guys are up in your face just like that?
Yeah.
Like, is the whole team going to get T'd up? Are they going to start playing chippy? Because we've seen it many, many times. Steph Curry, weak-minded when he gets somebody up in his face. He will throw his little piece guard across the court, and he gets teed up. Draymond Green gets upset. He was suspended for game 4. In the 2013 finals or 2014 finals? I can't remember. 16 finals. And KAD, he has been ejected on the Warriors at least 10 times that I can think of in his career there.
I'm just so sick of looking at the Warriors. I just can't wait till they meet their match, and they're weak-minded. And just to give you an example, the team we were just talking about last segment, the Nets, the Nets are better than the Clippers. So try that on for size. Dinwiddie and LeVert and Russell and Harrod, they probably would get in their head, the Warriors' head, better than the Clippers.
Right.
So if you can't take, in other words, to what you alluded to, Michael, if you can't take what the Clippers are doing, teams like the Nets are better.
Right.
Get ready for that second round matchup. Playing against Harden or even playing against Utah there that have better players, like Jay Crowder. Are you kidding me? Jay Crowder is going to D up Kevin Durant, going to push him around. I can't wait to see Kevin Durant. If it's Utah, Jay Crowder's 6'6.5", 260 pounds. I mean, Kevin Durant's going to go flying and get technicals, and it's going to be crazy. And Houston and the Warriors have a lot of bad blood. PJ Tucker is about as tough as you can get at 6'5". He's going to give Durant fits.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun to watch in that second round, regardless if it's Utah or Houston. So like you were saying, Michael, like if you're letting the Clippers get inside your head, this isn't going to be a good playoffs for you. You probably should win every game, but there's going to be a lot of the Golden State Warriors cry so much. And I even hate using that term when grown men cry.
They do cry.
Even they cry too. They cry all the time.
They pout.
They cry all the time. It's amazing how talented they are. And they just cry all the time. And then even Coach Kerr, who learned under Phil Jackson and Greg Popovich, he cries all the time too. So I can't wait to see how the Warriors do in the second round here. If they can't even take the Clippers stuff, how are they even going to match up with Houston and Utah? It's funny.
Yeah, and just to add to some points here for the next year, the Clippers are a pretty well coached, pretty solid team. They're missing one, maybe two pieces. If Kawhi goes to the Clippers, they could easily be a 4 seed next year, easily. So
if they think about this, think about the team that the Clippers are, right? If you just add a Kawhi Leonard, right?
Yep.
I mean, think about that. They'll be competing for the number one overall seed easily, because
Yeah.
I think the Warriors are going to break up. So now you're looking at Denver finished second this year, right?
Right.
We all know that the Nuggets aren't this juggernaut. I mean, they're a good team. So easily the Clippers, it's going to be a battle next year to see who's first or second seed. And the Clippers, if they acquire Kawhi Leonard, they will be right there battling for that first or second seed.
And then they acquire one more piece,
Oh, man. Yeah.
look out. They could be very, very solid team. So moving on to your San Antonio Spurs versus the Denver Nuggets. The Spurs did come out on top, 101-96. DeRozan led the way with 18 points for the Spurs, and Harris led the way for the Nuggets for 20 points. Very, very well balanced scoring throughout there. We both had the Spurs winning this series here, so they had to quote unquote steal a game on the road here. So what are your thoughts on this one?
It was a fun game to watch for a little while. Then it got a little nerve wracking at the end as a Spurs fan. Spurs control the tempo and they control the pace. Normally, you don't talk about tempo and pace in an NBA game. It's more like, I mean, you do obviously, but that's more for college. Who controls the pace in college, wins the game, play styles or whatever. But man, the Spurs really controlled everything, the pace and the tempo of this game. The Nuggets didn't get out and run. They didn't get out and run for layups. They didn't get out and run to the 3-point line. The Spurs played pretty good defense. And so it was a collective team effort by the San Antonio Spurs to win this game. They got good play from Derek White. The funny thing is DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge made 12 shots the entire game, and they took like 37 or something. They took a lot of shots. I mean, they didn't make a third of their shots, which is incredible. And the San Antonio Spurs still won. That being said, the Nuggets didn't make any threes either. So they had a terrible percentage. I don't know what it was. It was at one point they were like 5 of 28 or I mean, it was bad. So I don't expect the Nuggets to shoot that bad. So the Nuggets are going to come back. I don't think this is going to be any kind of sweep here just because the Spurs won game one. But LaMarcus and DeMar are going to make shots. So it's going to be an interesting game. This was kind of a slowdown game. It's going to be interesting to see if the Nuggets are hitting threes and DeMarcus, and if there's a game where DeMarcus and DeMar are going and they're making shots. And we'll see, this game could be – there's going to be one of these games. It could be game two where it's 125-123.
Yeah. And
that's going to be a Nuggets pace. But the Spurs can play that pace if DeMar and LaMarcus are hitting and our three-point shooting is going well. That's going to be an interesting game too. But back to the original thing, the Spurs controlled the pace of game one. Nuggets didn't get out and do anything. Not too many fast break points, if at any. The Nuggets didn't run to the three-point line, didn't run to layups. The Spurs played great defense. And, man, they took Jokic a little bit out of his game. They made him even more of a facilitator than what he normally is. And they weren't going to let Jokic beat him. And so the other guys have to make shots, and they didn't. But that doesn't mean they won't make them game two. I expect a big time. I mean, I expect Denver to win game two, to be honest. And but the Spurs will come out. This one will probably come down to the wire. But Spurs did a yeoman's job yesterday, and like everybody predicted, the Spurs have the experience, and that was Denver's first playoff game. And Jamal Murray missed an easy 16-foot jump shot that could have put them up by one. Yep. Spurs still would have had a shot with 7-8 seconds left, but that would have been difficult to see how we would have got that shot up. The Spurs I'm talking about. But Jamal Murray missed some easy shots that he normally makes. And so, if that doesn't happen game two is going to be a pretty good one. But Spurs got one in game one because they controlled the ball game was the bottom line. They controlled the tempo and the pace.
Yeah, and I think you hit it right on the right on the head there at the very end. Spurs have been here. They've done that. This is Denver's first playoff game, as the group, and it kind of showed. They clammed up a little bit. They did not shoot all that well, and the Spurs did exactly what they needed to do. They needed to go in there game one or game two, win a game, come back home with the series even, and sweep, and then not lose at home. Right now the pressure is on Denver 100%,
Yes.
because they have to go to San Antonio with a great fan base and
Yes.
that stadium, and they have to win a game. They have to
Yes.
win a game. Period. No
Yeah.
ifs, ands, or buts, or buts
And
about
I'll
it.
tell you right. I tell you, I'm gonna piggyback off what you said about the pressure being on Denver right now. I think Denver has to blow the Spurs out in game 2.
Yes.
And when I say blowout, I don't mean by 30. I mean the finals got to be like 112 to 101. Does
Yes.
that make sense? Like just to get their psyche back. Like, hey, we can do this. Because if you're coming down to a situation against Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs, and Denver's in the same spot where it's like 93 to 93 with 2 minutes left, favor Spurs. And if the Spurs pull another close one out,
Yep.
Denver's done.
Yes.
Now, we talked about that on Friday. If Denver were to go up 2-0 on the Spurs, it wouldn't be done. I heard a lot of experts say, oh, if Denver goes up 2-0 on the Spurs, it's over. No.
Wrong.
I got Greg Popovich and the Spurs. The Spurs could make it 2-2, and we could be going back to Game 5 for Denver, and who knows what happens. So, but the reverse of that is also correct, Michael. If the Spurs go up 2-0 at Denver, I think Denver's done.
Yep.
Denver has to be the pressure's on Denver. Denver has to win game 2, and I'm saying not only do they have to win game 2, they need to win it by 10 points, because even if they win another close game, think about that. You're the home team. You're the second seed. You just lost one close one, and you barely won the second close one. You can't feel that great about going to San Antonio. You have to blow the Spurs out by 10 points in game 2 to feel good about going to San Antonio. They barely win game 2, Denver. They're going to San Antonio, and they're going to feel like, damn, we just barely squeaked this one. We lost game 1.
Yep.
How are we going to play in San Antonio? So, yeah, absolutely. Denver has to win this one, game 2. All the pressure's on them, and they not only do they have to win it, I think they have to win it by 10.
Yeah, and I think right now everything favors the Spurs. They won one in Colorado. They can come home with a split series. The only way I think that the Denver Nuggets have a chance in this series is they have to do exactly what you said they do. They have to blow out the Spurs in game 2. If it's a close game, series Spurs. If the Spurs win, series Spurs. If it's a close loss, series Spurs. There's only one option for Denver going into game 2 that is physically dominating the game on the court and in the box score. So
yeah, absolutely. The confidence they'll get if they beat the Spurs by 10 will carry them in, and the games of San Antonio will probably be close. So that the confidence is such a key in the NBA because everybody's got talent.
Yeah.
So Denver, to regain their confidence, I think they have to really beat the Spurs, not another close game.
And I want to add a asterisk to what you said. They can win by 10, but they still have to dominate on the court. It cannot be close on the court. Like it has to be like no doubt. Like it kind of has to be like the game we talked about earlier, the 76ers. Yeah, score it was only a 7-point game, but the Nets dominated that game.
They dominated that game.
Yeah.
The Nets kind of let up there at the end.
Right.
They were up by like 14, with like 3 minutes left, and they were like, whatever, we won this one.
Right.
So yeah.
So the Denvers have to dominate. They have to win by 10 plus. Split series.
And let me say this.
San Antonio.
Let me say this. I think that Denver's going to come back in this series, and I think the Spurs it'll still be in 6. Just because Spurs won game 1, I don't think it's going to be any kind of sweep because I see Denver winning game 2. Now, if the Spurs win game 2, this could be a sweep.
Yes.
But I don't see that. I see the young Nuggets coming back and shooting threes much better than they did in game 1. And I see that, listen, Gary Harris and Will Barton and Jamal Murray are too darn good to go 4 straight games without hitting a bucket, without having some 30-point games. So I think game 2 is their game big time. And I think one of those 3, if not 2 of those 3, are going to have 30-point nights because they're very capable. Barton and Gary Harris and Jamal Murray, both those 3 can put up 30 on you.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, in Murray's case, I think he's had a few 50-point games, and I think Gary Harris has had a 40-point game. So these guys know how to score. So they're just not going to just go away, but they're going to have to come back and hit some threes. And Jokic opens up that floor for them really well with the spacing and what he can do. And they're going to have to come back, and they're going to have to dominate and win just to gain some confidence. Because if they don't, then the Spurs in 5 or if the Spurs win, obviously it'll be Spurs in 4.
Right. So, guys, moving on to the Sunday matchups here. The first game of the afternoon was Indiana Pacers versus the Boston Celtics. Boston Celtics did come out on top, 84 to 74. By far the lowest scoring game of the weekend here. Marcus Morris did lead the way with 20 points, which I'm kind of surprised he played, because I believe he was slated not to play at least that first game. So Marcus the Freak, you said how important he was in this series, and for him to play game one, I think the Celtics kind of agree with you of how important he was in this series. What are your takeaway from game one from Pacers Boston?
Man, that was a weird game. I'll be honest with you. This is the one game where I didn't catch it to the third quarter because it came on so early Sunday at noon.
Yeah.
I thought the game started more like at 1:30 or 2 in the afternoon, right? So I was recovering from Saturday night Spurs winning. I was having a good time. I woke up and my daughter had told me the Indiana had control of the game, and I thought I saw like Indiana was up by 10, like 40 to 30 or something. I was like, oh, wow, okay. Next thing you know, I get my full bearings. I get ready to cut on the TV, and next thing you know, the damn Celtics are up by like 15. I'm like, what happened? So the Celtics must have gone on like a 30-10 run or something. So I didn't see too much of this one, but yeah, I'm sure Indiana missed Oladipo, and the Celtics have a lot of players that come at you in waves, and their depth is amazing.
They wear you out.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana just has to keep up. I mean, if they were winning, right? You can give me more on what happened in this game. Y'all know if you watched it or not, but Indiana was up by 10 and all that. They just got to keep doing what they were doing to get them up in the first half. You know what I mean? Right. They can't let Boston go on some 24-5 runs. That's ridiculous. You can't do that in the playoffs. You're doomed. And so, I predicted Celtics in 5. Indiana, I think, is going to get them a game. But Indiana, it looks like they kind of blew an opportunity and quit playing, to make game one close.
Yeah, just like you, I did not realize that the game started so early. But I guess welcome. The Game of Thrones season is here, so I guess they wanted NBA games done before Game of Thrones started, because the views would be down so much here. But just to add to your point here, Indiana Pacers had a great first half. They scored like the halftime score was 45-38, and then they came out ice cold in the second half. They only scored 8 points in the third quarter. When you only score 8 points versus Celtics 26, that kind of puts you in a hole. So if you are looking at scoring per quarter, the Pacers won 3 out of the 4. But the one they lost, they got outscored by 20 points. So that will definitely put you behind the 8 ball early and like often. I do think that the Pacers can still come back and win this series. I think they are in the same position that the Denver Nuggets are in. They definitely have to come out and play well in Game 2 versus Boston at Madison Square, at Boston Garden. They have to dominate on both sides of the court and in the box score as as well. If it's another close game like this, I still think they can have a chance to win a game or two, but definitely won't win the series. NBA teams only scoring 75 or 74 and 84 4 points here. That's not going to happen each game. Scoring has to become a premium quick here, and I think it's going to happen in Game 3 when they travel to Indianapolis. And I think the Celtics are going to flex their muscles in Game 3 and Game 4, and it might be a quick series for the Pacers, but I still have hope that they can pull it off. So,
yeah, no, I still think Indiana's talented enough, even without Oladipo, to win games 3 and 4. I mean, I still have the Celtics in 5. Wouldn't shock me at all, though, if Boston won Game 2 and then Indiana went ahead and won their 2 home games, and it's 2-2 going back to Boston. Wouldn't shock me at all. Indiana has the talent. You can't tell me that Miles Turner and Sabonis and Bogdanovic can't beat the Celtics in games 3 and 4. The Indiana's too freaking talented. Even without Oladipo to not win games 3 and 4.
They are talented, but they lack the experience like some other teams in the playoffs this year. So guys, we're going to take another quick break here, and we'll cover the last 3 games that happened on Sunday, and then we'll jump into the 2 games that are happening tonight. So join us on the other side of the break real fast.
They're talking about Patrick Mahomes on. They're talking about the Chiefs on on the NFL thing on ESPN.
Oh, really?
Yeah. NFL Live. Do you have a TV like in front of you, like ESPN? No. Okay, yeah. You're probably looking at the computer, right? I'm just looking at the TV. I don't have. Yeah.
All right, guys, welcome back to RTF Sports Talk. If you are listening to us on YouTube Live, welcome. Consider subscribing, and commenting on the page below. We do interact with you throughout the show a little bit here. If you're listening to us on podcast form, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc., consider subscribing to that podcast as well. Leave a ranking, preferably 5 stars. Add myself on Twitter at mbuck41, and this guy on my left here, Marcus the Freak, he is at Marcus the Freak on Twitter machine as well. So guys, we have 3 games left to cover from the Sunday matchup, and we're going to jump right into it. So Oklahoma City at Portland. Portland pulled it out 104-99. Damian Lillard led the way with 30 points, and then Paul George for Oklahoma City had 26 points. The takeaway from this game here is I really thought Oklahoma City controlled most of the game, but Portland, they're just a scrappy team. They came out and they played their basketball. So Marcus, what are your thoughts on that? Give me a little insights on it.
Yeah, Michael, the fact that Portland only won by 5 was a little troubling to me, considering that Paul George played so poorly. Shooting poorly. His shoulder, I think, is bothering him. He's always got that thing wrapped.
Yeah.
So, if the real Paul George showed up, the Indiana Paul George, I think Portland would be in trouble. But give Portland credit here. Enes Kanter came out, and he's a heck of an offensive talent. He had 20 points and 18 rebounds. Enes Kanter has all-star ability offensively. Defensively, absolutely not. If Tim Duncan was playing against Enes Kanter, Tim Duncan would have 40 a night. But Enes Kanter can play the game. He's a good offensive rebounder. He's very skilled offensively. And so they needed every bit of his 20 and 18, Portland, that is, to beat Oklahoma City. McCollum played okay, but Damian Lillard, he's the Portland's version of Steph Curry. He's the second, closest to Steph Curry. Damian Lillard just stops from 28 feet, looks around, and goes, "Hey, what the heck? I'll just shoot it."
Right.
And he has the green light. Coach Terry Stotts gives Damian Lillard the green light on that, which they're not very good shots. But hey, you're Damian Lillard, you're Stephen Curry. You have the green light to take those shots. Like I said, it was shocking to me to see that Lillard played so well and Enes Kanter played so well and McCollum didn't play that bad. That Portland only won by 5 with Paul George not playing very well. Paul George has to be the best player in this series for Oklahoma City to win. Best player on the court, even better than Lillard. But he's not that right now. His shoulder's giving him some issue. Steven Adams also has to be more assertive. The guy's 7 foot, and the guy can just dunk everything back in. There's no Nurkic there, right? So he's not really battling anybody that should stand near. Harkless and Aminu they have length and they're 6'8", whatever, and they have long arms, but they should not mess with. I think they also have Collins too, the Blazers. But none of those guys. They're too frail to mess with Steven Adams. Steven Adams should be just dominating in the paint. Not necessarily like Shaq style, but man, Steven Adams has got to put forth more effort in getting a bunch of rebounds and putbacks. And Paul George has to get right with his shoulder. I think Oklahoma City's more talented, to be honest, that with Russell Westbrook and those guys. But Portland's probably going to win this series because of Paul George's shoulder, and they have the home court advantage. This thing is far from over. This is going to be one of those where wouldn't shock me at all. In about 2 weeks from now, you and I are talking about Game 7, Portland and Oklahoma City. This thing's far from over. And it wouldn't shock me at all if OKC got Game 2. But like I said, a lot depends on this series is Paul George's health and Paul George's shooting ability that coincides with his health because it's his right shoulder. If Paul George plays like a Kawhi Leonard type, Scottie Pippen type, back in the day, Scottie Pippen type, I think that OKC, I picked them in 6 to win this series. But if Paul George is a little hobbling, Edge goes to Portland easily, even without Nurkic.
Yeah.
Because they have the home court advantage, obviously. So this is going to be a nip and tuck series. It's going to go down to the wire again, game 2. But I like this series because I'm looking at it very closely because this is who my San Antonio Spurs are going to play in the second round. So I'm watching this real closely.
Yeah. So everything that you said, as normal, you hit it right on the head here. We both did pick Oklahoma City to win this series, and I think Oklahoma City is still going to win this series. Portland, since Damian Lillard has been on the Portland Trailblazers, they have not exited the first round. They have made the playoffs every year, but they haven't exited the first round. This is their first time ever being a top 5 seed. They are the number 3 seed, obviously, and I think that trend is going to hold true. They are not going to exit the first round. The Portland, they had a perfect storm. Oklahoma City did not play that well. Portland Trailblazers played extremely well. They shot the ball well. Just like what you said about Steven Adams. I wouldn't necessarily say Steven Adams played timid or scared, but they definitely need to incorporate him into the offense a little, a more early and more often. In that first quarter, they need to focus on getting him 10 to 12 points. 8 or 9 touches right off the bat. Boom, boom, boom. They need to establish that post play and just being dominant down there, because Steven Adams, just like you said, he can be a dominant force in this series. He is bigger, he is stronger. He kind of reminds me of, I want to say, like a Yao Ming type of player, like a tad bit. Like, he will not call for the ball. Like, he will not get upset if he doesn't get at the ball, but you have to keep feeding him the ball because he is the biggest, toughest player on the court right now, and that is how you're going to beat Portland, because I think the guard play kind of cancels each other out a tad bit with Paul George being hurt, like you said, like his shoulder. He probably has a tear in there that he'll get fixed in the off season when he goes to LA. It'd be a great pick up there. Well, but yeah, Steve Adams is the key.
Yao Ming was a little more skilled than Adams in terms of going in the post. But Michael, that doesn't matter. Like, as far as size and strength, Steven Adams, if I'm 7 foot and I'm in this series and there's no Nurkic, I tell the guys, shoot it, because I'm going to get the offensive rebound. I'm going to dunk it back in their faces. Okay. There's nobody that can stop me. So I'd be like, shoot it. I'm going to crash the offensive boards, and I'm going to get 10 putbacks. I'm going to get 20 points just off of putbacks. He's got to be more assertive in that way. Get more active.
Yeah, that is a good point there. I didn't think about the offensive board thing there. So that is definitely a good point. But either way, he definitely needs to be more assertive in there somehow, some way. But I think this game is going to go to seven games, and it's going to probably be one of the best series.
You know how you can tell when a lower seed has the lower seed has a little bit better team?
How's that?
In the history of the NBA, you can always tell this. When the home team, game 1, they'll barely beat, the good team. And then when it goes to games 3 and 4, the better team, the team that probably should have been the higher seed, will blow them out. I think that's going to happen. I think Portland might win this series, and if they do, you'll have like 4 close home games. And when it gets to OKC, I think OKC's going to run them out of the. So you know what I mean? Portland might get game 2. It's going to be another close game down to the wire. If Paul George is right with his shoulder, OKC will blow their butt out in games 3 and 4. I think OKC's the better team. It just so happens that the higher seed is Portland.
Yeah, and hopefully Paul George does get his shoulder right, because I think OKC has the best chance of knocking off Golden State if they can get to that point.
Yes, you're right. And in the NBA, in that first round, they stretch out this first round big time. There's like 2 days always in between games. Yeah. The first round always goes by so slow. Yeah. And you have time to heal.
Yeah. So hopefully he gets healed. So let's let's go ahead and move on to the next game. Quite possibly the most lopsided game I've ever seen in the NBA playoffs. The Bucks destroyed the Pistons 121-86. The Giannis had 24 points. Kennard for the Pistons had 21 points. Blake Griffin did not play. Drummond got tossed fairly early in the third quarter. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, we can spend about 20 seconds on this one. No Blake Griffin. It was going to be a very uphill battle, to say the least.
Yep.
I mean, Detroit's terrible without Blake Griffin. I mean, I'm not going to say he's their whole team, but maybe he's their whole team. You know what I mean? I mean, it was bad. I mean, though they feed off so much on him, Blake Griffin so blossomed so much as a player that he's not just a runner dunker anymore. Now they run their offense through him. He shoots threes. So Blake Griffin has transformed himself into a really good player. And so without him, he's 50-60% of the reason of their offense. He's the reason they're there. So and Drummond feeds off him, and Drummond was, I know they had Kennard. I think with Luke Kennard from Duke, he was going well for Detroit. Reggie Jackson was okay, but I mean these guys feed off Blake Griffin, and without Blake Griffin, you talk about a sweep. They should just call this thing in 3 if Blake Griffin doesn't play.
Right. I have to agree with you. This series is pretty much over if Blake Griffin doesn't play. Even if he does, like he does play, I still think it's going to be a sweep. I did have the Bucks in 5. I wish I could recant that and just say it's going to be a clean sweep. But before we move on to the next game, a fun fact here: there have been 8 teams that have won by 35 plus points in their first game playoff series. 3 of those teams have made it to the finals. Only 1 has ever won the NBA championship. Can you guess who that team was?
I know some blowouts in some game ones.
The 1991 Chicago Bulls was the only team to blow out a team by 35 plus points and win the championship the same year.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, they went on to beat the Lakers in 5.
Right.
That year, 91. And that was Michael Jordan's first championship.
Yeah, quite arguably one of the best teams to ever be assembled at like I think here. So. Moving on to the final Sunday game here, we had Utah Jazz versus Houston Rockets. Houston did come out on top, unfortunately, 122-90. James Harden had 29 points, and only 3 foul shots, which is kind of intriguing. The floor is yours. Insights on this game.
This was my second most disappointing team of the weekend. My first disappointing team was Toronto. Although all my anger a little bit goes at Kyle Lowry, but you still got to overcome Kyle Lowry to beat the Magic. I'm sorry, Toronto. And it's people call them the baby Raptors. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, come on. But this was my second team that disappointed me so much. Utah. I mean, hey, Utah, the playoffs have started. You might want to you want to do a redo of Game 1. I mean, come on. I mean, nobody had a good game. I mean, they were just, what were they doing out there? Ingles, my player to watch, I think made 1 shot.
Right.
I mean, I'd lay into their ass if I was coach. This was terrible. This was terrible to watch. I mean, Harden basically just did whatever. It was like a scrimmage game. Harden did whatever he wanted to do. They had no resistance. It was pretty pathetic all the way around. Jay Crowder and Russ O'Neal, the second string. I mean, they did absolutely nothing. I'm very shocked at this game. I don't know whether Utah wasn't going to play Houston for like most of the whole year. I mean, the last like a month they were scheduled to play like other teams, because Utah was doing really well, and they probably scouted Portland a lot because it was like a 4 or 5 matchup for like the last 2 weeks of the season, and then Houston decides to lose a couple of games or the last game, and next thing you know, Utah's going to Houston. Maybe that caught them off guard or something. But it shouldn't, though, because they have NBA scouts. They have to scout these teams. Yeah. It was just the effort. I thought the effort was terrible on defense. They better wake up or they'll get blown out again. Houston's one of those teams. If they're hitting threes and you don't bring your A game, it's going to look like a 6A versus a 1A real quick.
Right.
That's why people believe Houston can give the Warriors the best chance at winning. And there's a little bit of truth to that. You saw that with Houston playing Utah. Houston can play really well. When Eric Gordon, to me, he's one of those players that should have been an all-star. Eric Gordon and Rudy Gay. I mean, those are 2 players that have averaged 18 points per game for their careers and carried teams. You know what I mean? Like they were the focal point of the team, and now they're on. Of course, Rudy Gay's not going to be that same player because of Achilles, and Eric Gordon's getting a little older. But Eric Gordon on that is a third wheel on that Houston team. Eric Gordon can hit you 40.
Yeah.
So
in a heartbeat.
Yeah, he's really good. And to go with Chris Paul and Harden, that's why they give the Warriors the best, maybe the best push here in the Western Conference at a chance to win a few games off the Warriors. But man, I was just so disappointed in Utah. They didn't do anything right. It was just amazing to watch for the bad. I mean, it was terrible. So Utah better wake up, or and I think they will. I think this is one of those situations where it was first game jitters, I guess, so to speak, and I think they'll wake up game 2. I think this is going to be I think it's still going to be Houston in 7. I'm not going to say Utah is getting ready to get swept or anything because it's hard to win in Utah. We talked about that Friday. So I think Utah will wake up. They're too damn good not to wake up. So, but that was really disappointing. Toronto was my first team that was really disappointed in, and Utah was my second team that I was most disappointed in.
Right, and just to add to some thoughts here, I actually did not get to watch the whole game. 8th game into the weekend, I was physically exhausted. I'm not going to lie, but I did see the highlights, and basically, Houston, they have 3 ways they can score. They shoot the 3, fast break points, and from the foul line.
Yeah,
they don't shoot very good. Those 15-foot jump shots, and they don't go into the post very, very often. So the Utah Jazz. I don't know who was guarding James Harden, but he was guarding his hip. He was guarding his left hip, forcing James Harden to drive the basketball and shoot a mid-range jump shot, which is, historically that is kind of the weakness of the Houston team. They don't shoot very good from 10 to 17 feet. It's just that is just the way. That's just the way it is. So I saw what the Jazz were trying to do. They had a little triangle and 2 kind of setup on James Harden. The guy at the top, I gotta know who it was, but he was guarding his back hip, and he was guarding that little step back shot that James Harden travels every time on, but never gets called, and he makes it. And James Harden was he finally showed that he can shoot a mid-range jump shot, or he can be a facilitator as well. They had several finishes at the rims with some alley-oops and stuff like that, which was, very not rare for the Houston team, but kind of it doesn't happen very often. And then James Harden was shooting that, that 10-foot floater jump really, really well as well. Yeah. So one of the biggest points that I saw was James Harden only got to the foul line 3 times, I think. Usually throughout the year, he is averaging 17 to 20 foul shots per game. That was the Jazz's whole key, was to make them shoot the mid-range jumper, and it kind of backfired on them. So I'm kind of wondering of what the adjustment is going to be for their defensive side of the ball come game 2. Listen, are they going to play him heads up? Are they going to play a zone? Yeah. What are they going to do?
I'm one of those guys that gets really sick of the opposing player killing us.
Yeah.
So I would make anybody else beat me. I know Eric Gordon's a good talent. I know Chris Paul's a good talent. I am not letting – and there's different philosophies you can go here. Man, I do not want James Harden to beat me. So I'm going to be trapping him up pick and rolls. I am going to be getting the ball out of his hands. And I don't care if I leave Eric Gordon for wide open shots.
Yep. And
I'll have somebody running out at him. I'll have somebody running out at Chris Paul. We're not going to play that bad of defense.
No.
But I am not going to let James Harden beat me. I'm not going to let Stephen Curry beat me either. I'm gonna stop his butt.
Right.
I'll let Durant win the MVP then.
Right. And just to add to your point there, the other philosophy that you're kind of alluding to is kind of let Harden score his points, but shut down everybody else. But we've seen Harden go for 50, 60, 80 points. So that philosophy does not work in the NBA. You have to take the ball out of his hands.
Right. Sometimes funny though, is Popovich does that philosophy. They'll let Harden go 1-on-1.
Yeah.
And they'll limit the Rockets to like 105 points, and Harden will have 50. So that means they limited everybody else to 55 points to the other 11 players on the team. And the Spurs have beaten Houston that way. And they've also done it the other way, where they've taken the ball out of Harden's hands. And then Harden's also beat himself because he gets tired and winded because he has to carry the franchise.
Yeah.
And he kind of just like,
And if you
somebody
shoot
else,
50,
he gets tired. He's just tired of it.
You shoot 57 threes in a game, you get tired.
Yeah. So the coaches that are on the hot seat, to me, already after game one, you hate to think, well, why? How is a coach on the hot seat? It's game one. Quinn Snyder of Utah, he probably didn't get any sleep. Yeah. Coach Nick Nurse of Toronto probably didn't get any sleep. Coach Brett Brown of the 76ers probably didn't get any sleep. Those three coaches better wake up and better wake those teams up, or they're going to be in a I don't want to say fired, but I tell you right now, well, yeah, I'll be honest, yeah. Brett Brown's getting fired if they lose in the first round. I just thought about this right now. And Quinn Snyder, he won't get fired, but he'll be on the hot seat. And Coach Nurse of Toronto, wow, he could get fired if they lose to Orlando. So these coaches, you're on the hot seat in the playoffs. Just because you made the playoffs doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And there's been a lot of coaches of the year in the NBA have gotten fired the very next year.
Yeah, just to add to your point, last year Toronto was a number 1 overall seed, got beat by the Cavs, and they cleaned house. So as a number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, they clean house still. So no job is safe. So guys, we will take one more break here, and then we're going to talk tonight's matchups. We have the Brooklyn Nets take on the Philadelphia 76ers, and you have the Clippers versus Golden State. So join us on the other side of the break here, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to RTS Sports Talk. I am Michael Buckheiser, joined with my man Marcus. Marcus, it's been a great show so far, man. We had 8 games of basketball over the weekend. We had the Masters, we had baseball, we had Game of Thrones, but now it's watching the NBA playoffs get a little bit easier. We have a couple games tonight, a couple games on Tuesday, so it's just it's a little easier to break down, like a little easier to watch moving forward here. So the first matchup that we have tonight is at 8 p.m. You have Brooklyn Nets taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. Brooklyn does have a 1-0 lead. Who do you got in this game? What's your insights? Break it down for us.
I have Philadelphia in this game, but I'm very apprehensive about this pick. Just watching that game one, and I hate to take too much off of a game one, but I predicted it in Friday that if Philly wins, they're going to win in 7, and I could easily see the Nets winning if Embiid is not healthy. And Embiid is not healthy, by the way.
Yes.
You think? I wonder what's going on at the shoot-around today at the Philadelphia 76ers at the arena there.
They had their cell phones out.
Yeah, they probably did. They were probably on their on Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram and all that instead of concentrating on the Nets, right? You wonder if anybody walked by Tobias Harris and said, "Hey, the playoffs started today." I mean, the playoffs started the other day. They started today. You going to play today? Because Tobias Harris was a non-existent. He is too damn talented, Michael. At 6'7", 6'8", multi-dimensional, can get his shot in transition, can get his shot in the post-up game. He was a post player in college. He can shoot threes over the top of you. He is too darn talented to go 2 of 7 from the field. He has got to wake up. I wonder if Brett Brown's going to put him in any kind of positions to get him going early. J.J. Redick is just going to have to pick and choose his spots. Sometimes Redick takes bad shots.
Yes.
There was a couple of times where Dinwiddie and them are like right on him, and he just chunks the ball up. I mean, Redick, chill out, man. The ball's going to come to you. We just got to get good ball movement, and you have a really good point guard in Ben Simmons. It's going to be interesting to see how they play Ben Simmons. You can play off of him because he can't shoot better than you and I, which is a very big flaw. I'm going to tell you right now, Ben Simmons doesn't learn how to develop a jumper. He will never be in LeBron James or Magic Johnson's class. Magic Johnson learned a jumper later on in his career. Ben Simmons better do that, or he will just be a very, very good player and not an all-time player like you think of point guard. You're not going to think of Ben Simmons because he can't shoot.
Right.
Ben Simmons better get that corrected. I can't wait to see how this turns out, how the Sixers come out, because the Nets are playing with house money. I mean, they're Dinwiddie and those guys, LeVert and Russell. I love how they play. They're a bunch of street ballers, and Harris can. I told you that Harris, in my opinion, is the third best shooter in the world behind Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry.
And you're right.
He didn't even get going the other night. I mean, he didn't do that much. He had like little 10 points or something. So wait till Harris gets going. I can't wait to see how this game turns out. Brett Brown is on the hot seat. And is Embiid going to play? He only played 24 minutes. They're saying his knee's bothering him. This could be really, really bad if the Nets win tonight. This could be really bad. Then I wish I could change my pick to, Nets in 5 or 4.
Right.
Like I said, I had the 76ers, but that's if Embiid was healthy, and he is not healthy. They need a monumental Embiid performance, like a 35 and 15. If they don't get that, they don't advance.
Yeah, and I definitely hear everything you were saying. Right now, the Brooklyn Nets confidence is sky high. They are on cloud 9. Their eyes are this big. The back is the baskets just is like shooting fish in a barrel. So the only way Philadelphia is going to come out and do well tonight is they have to be physical. They have to physically dominate the game. They have to flex their muscle against the Nets, and they have to be like, hey, we are bigger than you, we are stronger than you, and we are better than you. The Philadelphia has to come out almost cocky. They just have to be in their face, physical. On the other side of the coin, the Nets just have to keep doing what they did in Game 1. Yes, there are going to be adjustments being made on the Philadelphia 76ers side, hopefully, to shut down what they did, but I don't see that happening till the second half. And at that point, I think the Philly confidence will be so down, so discouraged that the Nets will be just shooting lights out, playing a great game. Just to add some subtitle to this matchup here, if the Nets go up 2-0, this will be their first time being up 2-0 since playing the New York Knicks back in 2004, and they swept that series. So every time, I believe I've looked it back up here. Dating back to the last 6 series, every time the Nets have gone up 2-0, they have swept the series. So history tells me if they win tonight, Philadelphia, look out, because Brooklyn at home, that place is going to be rocking.
Look out! Yeah, look out! Just because the confidence, I'm going to tell you right now, if the Nets win this game, Philadelphia 76ers confidence is done.
Yeah,
the Nets confidence will be sky high, and it'll be over for the Philadelphia 76ers. Just like what we talked about Spurs Nuggets. Even if Philadelphia wins this game, Philadelphia needs to blow the Nets out and regain that dominance.
Yes.
Hey, I'm a higher seed than you. You know, you came to play the last game, but we're the better team. I think Philadelphia has to beat this team by 10. If Philadelphia wins a close one tonight, the Nets will still have that confidence going home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
confidence is key. Confidence is key in the playoffs. If you have confidence going in, because they dominated, let's be honest, the Nets dominated Philly in that first game in Philly. Like, if they know they can do that to you on your home court, how are they going to play on their home court?
Right.
I mean, it's just
but
I do have to echo your pick here. I think Embiid has to have a great game, and I think he is going to have a great game. He did only have 1 day rest, but historically Embiid plays well after 1 game rest.
And Tobias Harris better wake up.
Right. So, who do you have winning tonight?
Well, I got the Sixers winning, but wouldn't shock if Embiid doesn't play or he does the same thing. If he does a little 24 minutes. Yep. No, Nets are winning.
Yeah, and I'm picking Philadelphia by 3. The score is not going to show how much Philly has actually dominated the game. I think they come up and they play well. Nets get some cheap baskets at the end of the game here.
That happens. Yeah.
So moving on to the nightcap here, we do have the Clippers taking on Golden State at 10:30 here. Marcus, insights.
Hey, I'm going to go real quick on this one because I know we're pressed for time. This one really doesn't have to do a lot of explaining. I'm only tuning into this game just to watch the drama. I just want to see if the Clippers get in the Golden State Warriors' heads again. I'm going to see how the refs help out the Golden State Warriors, which it seems like sometimes they normally do. And I'm a person that really doesn't complain about the refs that much.
Yeah.
But the Clippers got a little hosed a little bit the past few nights, or the previous game. Let's see how that. I just want to turn into this game for the drama to see if KD gets another technical or explodes. And see the Beverly KD matchup. That's fun to watch. Listen, Warriors should win this thing again by at least 10 to 15. So we'll see what happens there. But if the Clippers hit shots, the Clippers are a good shooting team. Lou Williams, aside from Beverly, who can't shoot it, but Landry Shamet and Lou Williams, these guys can shoot the basketball. I love the Montrezl Harrell. Just keep balling down in the middle. He reminds me of the Manimal, how you remember the Kenneth Faried used to be a few years ago. But Montrezl Harrell's that same type of player. 6'8", get out of my way. I'm going to lay it in, dunk on you. I'm going to grab the rebound over you. If he still plays like that, Clippers have a little fighting chance. And if the Clippers are shooting threes, they have a fighting chance to stay in this game. But I'm really tuning into this game to see the drama. To see if Golden State implodes.
Yeah,
but I have Golden State winning this one by 10.
Yeah, I have to echo your pick there.
Yeah.
I am going to tune into the first quarter here, see if LA can't jump out to a quick 20-6 point game like they did in game one, and then I'm going to tune out for like a tad bit, and then tune back into the fourth quarter just to see if Patrick is up in KAD's face, if they're starting to whine like etc. Because I don't think it matters what happens in the first quarter. Second quarter, Golden State's going to come out, shoot lights out. And the game will never be close past that point. I'm thinking it's going to be a 15-point game. I think it's going to be a very lopsided game. I think the Warriors are kind of pissed off a tad bit what happened to them at the end of game one, and they're just going to come out, bully the little brother a little bit, and it's going to be a boring game. I think.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. I mean, Golden State win this one going away. The only way the Clippers have a chance is if they get in the Warriors' heads again
early.
And then make them dysfunctional, and then the Clippers have to hit threes.
Yeah,
the Clippers have to score in order to even stay in the game, to be in the Warriors' heads as well. So yeah, Golden State should win this one though.
Yeah, and just on the bright side of this series, the Clippers is gaining very valuable experience for next year for when they add those couple pieces to make a championship run. Yeah. So guys, definitely start learning some Clippers names. Watch them now, because next year when you guys all jump on that bandwagon, I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. They're going to be a pretty good team next year.
They are.
So, Marcus, we both got Golden State and Philly tonight. Any closing thoughts before we end the show?
No, I'm actually more interested in that first matchup. Just can't wait to watch that one. Yep. The Clippers Warriors is kind of just like a little, that's when I start flipping the channel. I'm not going to flip the channel on the Nets and 76ers.
No, not at all.
Although I'll check a little baseball here and there, but really that Nets and 76ers is really intriguing because the 76ers fans are starting to boo their players, which is incredible to me. I don't believe that. I believe you can boo pro athletes. I never boo high school athletes, grade school athletes, and when I go to Longhorns games, I never boo the Longhorns, ever, because they're not getting paid. Really, I mean, they're not getting these big salaries.
They are getting paid.
You know what I mean? They're still, I'm not going to boo a student athlete, but you best believe I will boo a player making millions of dollars.
Right.
I will boo a coach.
Yeah.
Hey, and a lot of times the fans are booing the coach.
Right.
In the NFL, when we boo, we're booing Gary Kubiak when he was in the Houston Texans. We're not necessarily booing the players all the time. So we're booing this coach. All he does is drink, sleep, and eat football or basketball or baseball.
Right.
You better damn well believe I'm going to boo your ass. You're making millions of dollars, and this is your livelihood. You don't know when to call timeouts? Come on, let's think about it. You know what I mean? So
that's a great point.
But this is getting into the 76ers' head, and Embiid said he thought about it when he was shooting the booing. So you can't Embiid, you can't let that get in your head, son. You're making
a professional athlete.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Just shoot the ball. But it's a bad situation in Philly. So if the Nets win again, that's bad. That's bad. That's really bad. They'll clean house.
Yeah, if the 76ers if they get swept, do not be surprised that there's not a riot in Philly.
Oh no, the coaching staff. If the 76ers got swept, the coaching staff's done. A lot of the players are gone. And you're basically, it's like poker. I don't know if you played poker. You keep your best two, and everybody's gone.
Right.
They'll keep Simmons and Embiid, and everybody else is gone. They'll have to build a new roster.
I don't even know if they keep Simmons. Honestly, I mean,
well, yeah, if you can trade him to get a couple of great players, I mean, that's possible too.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but guys, in the end, couple games tonight. I strongly dislike those 10:30 start times because the games that don't get over till like 1 o'clock East Coast time. It just makes it really hard to watch. Like, honestly, that's why I'm so down on the Pac-12. I hate the Pac-12 because the games don't start till like 11:30 here on the East Coast, and they're done like at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's
are you watching a rerun? No, you're watching the real game.
Right. I turned the TV on like at 1:30, expecting to be watching Sports Center, and it's Arizona versus Arizona State still, and they're in the third quarter. Like, what is going on?
Right.
But guys, we will be back tomorrow. 1:45 p.m. on the East Coast time, 12:45 Central Daylight Time, live on YouTube. Shortly after that, the live feed gets put up onto podcast form. On Tuesday, we'll be breaking down a couple games. We'll be rehashing these couple games that we just talked about. And then there's 3 games happening on Tuesday. You have Orlando versus Toronto, Spurs versus Nuggets, and Thunder versus Trailblazers. All very intriguing, all very exciting matchups. And then Wednesday you have 3 more games. You have Pacers, Boston, Pistons, Bucks, and then Jazz, Houston. So guys, join us tomorrow, 1:45 East Coast time on YouTube Live. Or if you listen on podcast, just hit that bell icon and follow us, and you'll get a notification as soon as it gets live. So join us tomorrow. We'll be back. We out.